She sat on the old wooden bench, her hands resting loosely on her knees, the crisp autumn air curling around her like a soft embrace. The park was quiet, save for the occasional rustle of leaves or distant laughter of children playing somewhere beyond the trees. She didn't need to move. She had long since realized that life's most profound journeys sometimes required no steps at all. Here, seated among the falling leaves, she could traverse the entire span of her existence with the mere turning of her mind. She closed her eyes for a moment and let memory carry her back. She saw herself as a small child, barefoot in a sunlit garden, arms outstretched toward the sky. Her laughter had been easy then, spontaneous, echoing freely among the flowers. She remembered the sense of wonder that had filled her, an infinite world of possibilities, each day a new story waiting to unfold. "I will shine," she had whispered to herself in those early years, believing it with a kind of fierce certainty only children possess. Her parents had smiled at her dreams with gentle amusement. "The world is big, and it will challenge you," her mother had said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "But if you follow your heart, you can do anything." Even then, she had understood the words to mean something more. The journey would not be easy, but the possibility of joy was worth every struggle. School had been the first arena where she discovered both the thrill of attention and the sting of comparison. Teachers praised her for her creativity, friends admired her charm, and yet, in quiet moments, she noticed the shadows, the whispered doubts, the envy, the subtle rejections that taught her, even as a child, that admiration came with its price. "I will be seen," she had promised herself, not just noticed, but remembered. By her early teens, the first sparks of opportunity had arrived. A local theater called, offering a role in a small production. She remembered the exhilaration of stepping onto that stage for the first time, the way the boards seemed to hum beneath her feet, the hush of the audience as they waited for her to speak. She had been small, almost insignificant in stature, but on that stage, she felt enormous, infinite. And when the curtain fell and the applause erupted, she had known a new kind of happiness, the intoxicating sense that the world could notice her, truly notice her, and celebrate her existence. From that moment, a fire had ignited. She had sought every audition, every camera, every chance to be in the light. The small town that once defined her existence became too small, too quiet, too constrained. She moved to the city, her dreams tucked carefully into a suitcase, her heart brimming with ambition. Early jobs were modest, commercials, background roles, small TV parts, but each step fueled her, building towards something greater. It was in these early successes that she first glimpsed the double-edged sword of admiration. People loved her, sometimes intensely, almost unbearably, but only the version of her that they wanted to see. The real her, the one who laughed too loudly at a private joke, cried at sunsets, or pondered the nature of life, remained invisible. "I must wear the mask," she thought, "or they will not care for me at all." Her teenage years were a blur of rehearsals, cameras, and fleeting friendships. She learned the subtle art of hiding fatigue behind a smile, of masking insecurity with poise. And yet, despite the glimmer of success, a tiny ache persisted, a quiet awareness that the path she had chosen demanded more than she had anticipated. It demanded sacrifice, the abandonment of simplicity, the loss of privacy, the constant scrutiny of eyes that claimed to adore her but were never satisfied. By the time she reached her early 20s, she had stepped fully into the realm of stardom. A breakthrough role catapulted her into public attention, and suddenly, she was everywhere. Magazines, billboards, television screens, the world knew her face, her voice, her name. And yet, in the solitude of her apartment at night, the applause felt distant, hollow, almost mocking. She had learned quickly that fame was not fulfillment. It was a stage on which one could hide, brilliantly, the emptiness within. She remembered the first time she felt truly alone in a crowd. The cameras flashed, the fans screamed, the air buzzed with anticipation, and yet, amidst the chaos, she felt utterly unseen. "I am surrounded, yet isolated," she thought. Everyone wants pieces of me, but no one wants the whole me. Even as success mounted, the quiet moments of reflection returned to her. The times she sat on a park bench, much like the one she occupied now, and pondered the cost of her choices. She remembered the child who had dreamed freely in the sunlight and wondered where that girl had gone. Was she buried beneath the layers of expectation, ambition, and performance? Or had she simply been forgotten, like a leaf swept away in a gust of wind? And yet there was also joy. She had discovered friendships that were real, fleeting though they sometimes were. Mentors who guided her without expectation. The thrill of creating art, of breathing life into a character, of making someone feel through her performance. Those moments, rare as they were, had reminded her why she had begun this journey in the first place. The park around her grew quieter as the sun dipped lower, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. She let the memories wash over her. Childhood dreams, the first applause, the growing ache of ambition. Sitting on the bench, she understood something profound. Life's journey was not measured in steps taken, awards won, or applause received. It was measured in reflection, in understanding, in the moments of truth when one could sit quietly and face oneself without pretense. She inhaled the cool, earthy air, letting it fill her lungs. "I am here," she whispered to herself. "Not for anyone else. Not for fame, applause, or recognition. I am here for me, and that is enough." Rise to fame and first heartbreak. The bench felt colder now, its worn wood pressing against her thighs, yet she did not notice. Her mind was elsewhere, traveling years into the past, through the dizzying blur of lights, cameras, and applause that had defined the early years of her adulthood. She remembered the day everything changed, the breakthrough role that made her a household name. She had been nervous, trembling in her costume, but the moment she stepped on set, something clicked. The cameras focused, the crew hushed, and she felt, for the first time, the intoxicating thrill of being truly recognized. It had been exhilarating. The role brought her accolades, interviews, and invitations she had once only dreamed of. Magazine covers featured her smile. Red carpets demanded her presence, and suddenly, the world seemed to know her, or at least the version of her they wanted to see. She smiled for them, laughed for them, and nodded politely to their questions. And yet, in the silence after the flashbulbs faded, she felt hollow, like a vessel emptied of the life it once carried. Her first love had arrived amidst the chaos. A co-star, charming and attentive, who seemed to see her, not the persona crafted for public consumption, but her real self. She remembered the way his eyes held hers, not with judgment, but with understanding. In stolen moments between shoots, they shared coffee, whispered laughter, and quiet conversations that felt like home. For the first time since childhood, she felt seen. But love in her world was fragile. It existed only in the shadows, always threatened by gossip columns, jealous colleagues, and the weight of expectation. She had given her heart fully, but she had also learned the painful lesson that fame demanded sacrifices, not only of privacy, but of intimacy. He left eventually, not because he didn't care, but because the life she led was one he could not navigate. She had watched him walk away, leaving her with the hollow ache of what might have been. She traced a fallen leaf with her fingers, letting the memory linger. Even love, she thought, is fragile when the world wants to own you. The ache in her chest reminded her that desire, hope, and vulnerability were luxuries she could seldom afford in public life. And yet, she could not erase them from her heart. The years that followed were a whirlwind of success and isolation. New roles, new faces, new cities. Friends came and went like shooting stars, some genuine, some opportunistic. She learned quickly who was there for her, and who was there for the reflection of her name in lights. The applause never truly filled the emptiness she felt. It only emphasized it. Even surrounded by fans screaming her name, she sometimes felt invisible. She remembered moments of quiet despair, sitting alone in dressing rooms, her reflection staring back at her through the mirror, asking silently, "Who am I beneath all this?" The mask she wore had grown heavier with each smile, each public appearance. It became second nature until she could scarcely remember what it felt like to be herself without performing. She thought of the parties, the invitations, the endless networking, moments that appeared glamorous from the outside, but inside were exhausting. Conversations filled with flattery and falsehoods, the subtle betrayals of those who smiled at her but coveted her place. She had learned to nod, to smile, to laugh, while internally bracing herself for the next disappointment. Trust is a luxury, she thought, and I cannot afford it here. Yet even amid the glittering chaos, there were small, unforgettable moments of truth. A director who genuinely valued her talent, a friend who reminded her of the person she had been before fame, a quiet evening on a balcony, staring at the city lights and breathing in the night air. Those were the moments she clung to, the rare, fragile threads that kept her connected to herself. But fame was relentless, and so was expectation. Every misstep was magnified. Every private failure became public fodder. She remembered reading headlines that twisted her intentions, interviews edited to create tension or controversy, the gossip that spread faster than the truth. She learned that her life, once private and personal, had become a commodity, a story to be consumed by others. And the more she achieved, the more isolated she became. She hugged her arms around herself, pulling the coat tighter as the autumn wind brushed against her cheeks. Sitting on the bench, she realized that all the accolades, all the applause, could never replace the simple comfort of being unnoticed, of being free to just exist without scrutiny. She closed her eyes, letting the memories wash over her. The joy, the triumph, the heartbreak, and the loneliness, and wondered if she would ever find the peace she had glimpsed only in fleeting moments. Somewhere in that swirling mix of past and present, she recognized a pattern. Life had been relentless, yes, but she had survived it. She had loved, lost, succeeded, failed, and still, here she was. Sitting on this bench, she could finally face herself without the masks, without the applause, without the world's demands. For the first time, she understood that survival itself was a quiet, profound victory. She whispered to herself, almost inaudibly, I have lived, I have loved, I have faltered, and yet I remain. And perhaps that is enough. Famous to unknown in life. Complete story. She sat on the worn wooden bench, the autumn leaves swirling gently around her feet. The air was crisp, filled with the earthy scent of fallen foliage, the kind that made the heart ache in a familiar, quiet way. She didn't move.
She didn't need to.
The world could rush past her, but here, on this bench, she had all the time she needed to traverse the expanse of her life. Her mind wandered back to childhood, to the girl who had danced barefoot in sunlit fields, arms outstretched, laughing without restraint. Dreams had come easily then, grand, limitless dreams that promised nothing but possibility. I will shine, she had whispered to herself, a solemn promise filled with hope and innocence. The sun had been warm, the flowers vivid, and life had seemed infinite. She remembered the first taste of attention, a small role in a local play, the hush of the audience, the thrill of applause. Her heart had leapt, knowing for the first time that someone could see her, not just the child she had been, but the spark she carried inside. It was a spark she would chase for the rest of her life. Years passed, and the spark became a flame. Early roles led to bigger opportunities. Television shows, commercials, magazine covers. The world seemed to open its arms to her. And yet, as the applause grew louder, so did the emptiness inside her. The people who adored her were captivated by her image, not the reality beneath it. She learned quickly that love and recognition came with a price. The loss of privacy, the constant scrutiny, the subtle betrayals of friends and colleagues alike. Her first love arrived like a quiet sunrise amidst the chaos, a co-star who seemed to see beyond the fame, who touched the girl she had once been, before the cameras, the lights, the endless expectations. Their stolen moments were fleeting but perfect. Coffee shared in empty studios, laughter whispered behind closed doors, quiet conversations that made her heart swell. And then he was gone. Life, fame, and circumstance had conspired to pull him away. The ache of that loss lingered longer than any applause. Even love, she thought, is fragile when the world wants to own you. Fame intensified. Red carpets, interviews, endless networking, invitations she could never refuse. Success became a relentless tide that lifted her high, yet left her isolated at the very top. She remembered standing in a crowd of screaming fans, the cameras flashing, people chanting her name, and still, she had felt invisible. She had smiled, nodded, posed for photographs, but inside, she had felt hollow. "I am surrounded," she whispered in her mind, yet utterly alone. Her career soared, but the personal cost became unbearable. Nights were spent in luxurious apartments, staring out over city lights, questioning every choice, every sacrifice, every betrayal. Old friends had drifted away, replaced by those who wanted her name, not her company. Family visits became rare. Relationships were strained. The mask she wore had grown heavy, almost inseparable from her being. Yet removing it was impossible. Without it, she feared she would vanish completely from the world she had once conquered. The bench beneath her seemed to hold all these memories as if it were stitched into the fabric of her life. She imagined the child in the sunlit fields, the young actress trembling backstage, the rising star lost in red carpets and flashing lights. All of them were her, and yet, she realized, they were only fragments of a whole she had yet to fully embrace. And then came the darkest days. Projects failed, critics mocked, opportunities vanished. Social media, once a tool of celebration, became a battlefield of judgment. She had grown accustomed to applause, yet it no longer comforted her. It only reminded her of what she had lost. She spent hours sitting alone, staring at her reflection, wondering who she truly was beyond the persona the world had consumed. "I have everything," she thought bitterly, "and nothing at all." But even in despair, there were small lights. She remembered a stray dog brushing against her hand in a quiet moment, an elderly couple sharing a laugh nearby, the simple warmth of sunlight hitting her face through the amber leaves. These were the reminders that life, even stripped of fame and recognition, still held beauty, still offered connection, still invited love. She had chased glory her whole life and found it hollow, but here, in the park, surrounded by the quiet rhythms of the world, she began to glimpse something more profound: peace. Time stretched and blurred as she lingered on the bench. She reflected on all she had been: child, starlet, lover, icon, loner, survivor. Every mistake, every heartbreak, every triumph had been a thread woven into the tapestry of who she was. She no longer mourned what she had lost, nor longed for the applause she had once craved. Instead, she began to understand that identity, purpose, and happiness were never truly found in others' eyes. They were found in quiet reflection, in acceptance, in presence. She inhaled deeply, the autumn air filling her lungs, and felt a strange lightness. Her body was still, but her heart felt open. She realized that she could remain on this bench forever and yet move forward within herself. Standing was no longer necessary. Movement was internal, measured in understanding, forgiveness, and self-compassion. She smiled faintly at the falling leaves, each one a reminder of impermanence, of letting go, of renewal. "I have lived fully," she thought. "I have loved, lost, succeeded, failed, and yet, here I remain. That is enough." The sky shifted, deepening into amber and gold. Shadows lengthened, and the world around her slowed. She felt neither fear nor regret, only a profound stillness, the kind that comes when one finally accepts the entirety of one's own life. The bench had become more than a seat. It had become a sanctuary, a witness, a mirror of her soul. As the last light of the day filtered through the trees, she let herself drift in quiet gratitude. For the child who had dreamed, for the star who had shone, for the woman who had endured, for the self she had discovered, she honored them all. Here, on this bench, Amidst the autumn leaves, she was home. She would not rise.
She did not need to.
She was alive. She was whole. She was free. And finally, she smiled. Not for anyone else, not for the applause or the world, but for herself, at peace with every chapter of the life she had lived.